This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
Presenting petitions, the Honourable Member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity to present a number of petitions to the House on behalf of my constituents. The first of a number of petitions that I will present today is dealing with the issue of parental rights. The petitioners, note that the Liberal government has sought to involve itself in decisions that should be made by parents and by provinces. And they further note that the Conservative leader has criticized the government's attempted interference in this area and called on the Prime Minister to butt out of provincial decisions. In particular, these petitioners reference the New Brunswick policy in this respect. Petitioners say that in the vast majority of cases, parents care about the well-being of their children and love them much more than any state-run institutions. The role of government is to support families and respect parents, not to dictate to them how they should make decisions for their children. Petitioners call on the Government of Canada to butt out and to let parents raise their own children. The next petition that I'm tabling is highlighting concerns about the ongoing persecution of Falun Gong practitioners in China. Petitioners describe the history of that persecution, including the work done by the late David Matas and, by David Kilgore and the late David Kilgore and David Matas on uncovering the horrors of forced organ harvesting and trafficking. Petitioners call for an end to persecution of Falun Gong practitioners. They ask the Government of Canada to do more to combat the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners. The next petition that I'm tabling highlights concerns about how the government is attacking freedom of choice in healthcare as it relates to access to natural health products. Petitioners note that it is a fundamental right for individuals to be able to choose how to prevent illness or to address illness or injury in their own bodies, and that Canadians are competent to make their own healthcare decisions without state interference. Therefore, petitioners call on Parliament to respect the health freedom of Canadians and to reverse the changes that the government made with respect to natural health products in the last Budget Implementation Act. The next petition that I'm tabling shares the concerns of petitioners regarding this government's radical agenda as it relates to euthanasia. In particular, in this petition, petitioners are raising concern about proposals to expand euthanasia to children. They note that Mr. Louis Roy of the Quebec College of Physicians recommended expanding euthanasia even to, quote, babies from birth to 1 year of age who come into the world with severe deformities and very serious syndromes. Petitioners find that proposal repugnant and believe that infanticide is always wrong. Therefore, they call on the Government of Canada to block any attempt to legalize the killing of children. Next, Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to table a petition in support of a private member's bill C-257. This is a Conservative private member's bill that would add political belief or activity as prohibited grounds of discrimination to the Canadian Human Rights Act. Petitioners identify that all Canadians have a right to be protected against freedom from discrimination, that many Canadians do face political discrimination or discrimination on the basis of political belief or activity, that it's a fundamental right to be politically active and vocal without fear of reprisal, and they say that it is in the best interest of Canadian democracy to protect public debate and the exchange of differing ideas. Bill C-57, by adding this additional language to the Canadian Human Rights Act, would protect people from political discrimination and create an environment in which people can feel free to express themselves on important issues of the day without fear of reprisal. Petitioners therefore ask the House to support Bill C-257 and to defend the rights of Canadians to peacefully express their political opinions. The next petition that I'm tabling raises concern about a proposal from the government, from the Liberal Party, in their last election platform to effectively politicize charitable status determinations. Liberals proposed in their last platform to deny charitable status to organizations that have convictions regarding abortion that the Liberal Party doesn't like. And this proposal, petitioners say, would jeopardize the charitable status of hospitals, houses of worship, schools, homeless shelters, and other charitable organizations that don't agree with the Liberal Party on matters of conscience. The government has previously used a values test to discriminate against worthy applicants to the Canada Summer Jobs Program, denying funding to any organization which was not willing to check a box endorsing political positions of the governing party, and that this proposal would amount to a second values test. Petitioners say that charities and other non-profit organizations should not be discriminated against on the basis of their political views or religious values and should not be subject to a politicized values test. Therefore, they call on the House and the government to protect and preserve the application of charitable status rules on a politically and ideologically neutral basis without discrimination on the basis of political or religious values and without the imposition of another values test, and to affirm the right of Canadians to freedom of expression. The next petition that I'm tabling raises concern about cuts that this government has made to women's shelters, cuts that have been made in the context where we see ballooning spending in other areas. Petitioners point out that women's shelters are sadly seeing increased demand, that the high cost of living and the housing crisis have made it harder for women and children fleeing a violent home to find a safe place to live. And at a time when, quote, this Liberal government is dramatically increasing spending on bureaucracy and consultants, they are cutting $145 million of funding for women's shelters. Therefore, petitions call on the Government of Canada to restore funding for women's shelters that have been cut. And, Madam Speaker, that's all for today.
Amazing.
Presenting petitions. The honourable member for Mission Matsky Fraser Canyon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. À la demande du gouvernement.
At the request of the Liberal government, the Correctional Service of Canada applies a syringe sharing program in federal penitentiaries, which encourages the use of illicit drugs in prisons. Illicit drugs in federal penitentiaries are contraband, as are the objects which are used to inject them. The needles which are used for illicit drugs in federal corrections facilities represent a very serious risk to the safety of inmates and corrections agents. This program makes the danger even greater for those who work in our penitentiaries. Canada's drug strategy should be used to help Canadians who are addicted to drugs to be rehabilitated from that addiction and to receive treatment instead of maintaining them in a state of addiction. My constituents in Mission Matsky Fraser Canyon call on the Government of Canada to end the activities of the needle exchange program in prisons and to no longer authorize the use of illicit drugs in Canadian prisons and to concentrate their efforts on ways to help inmates free themselves from addiction. Thank you. I'd like to congratulate the honourable member for presenting his petition entirely in French.
The honourable member for Dauphin, Swan River, Nippewa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's always an honour to present a petition on behalf of constituents. Madam Speaker, I rise for the 30th time on behalf of the people of Swan River, Manitoba, to present a petition on the rising rate of crime. This NDP Liberal government has ignored the people of Swan River.
Used to say what's in the petition and not what's not in the petition. And so just when he mentions the type of government, I just want to say that's not in the petition, so he shouldn't be talking about that. Just what's in the petition. The honourable member for Dauphin, Swan River, Nippewa.
I was explaining what was in the petition, why the petition was happening, though.
I've looked at the honourable member's petitions in the past, and it doesn't specifically mention that. It's about the government. So anyhow, I will bring it back to the honourable member. The honourable member for Dauphin, Swan River, Nippewa.
People of Swan River are calling for jail, not bail, for the violent repeat offenders. Madam Speaker, the people of Swan River demand that this Liberal government repeal their soft on crime policies that directly threaten their livelihoods and their community. I support the good people of Swan River.
Presenting petitions, the honourable member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Speaker, the petitioners in this petition are noting that the climate crisis will require massive efforts to reduce energy consumption. They point out that 17% of all energy consumed in Canada is used in heating and cooling and other activities in our homes. COP28 calls on governments to double energy efficiency by the year 2030. The petitioners are asking the Government of Canada, in the ongoing provincial, territorial, and federal work, to develop a new national building code that will reduce overall energy demand by about 15% at least of what current structures are consuming. Thank you, Madam Speaker.